Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holt's back again with another amazing episode from E-Commerce Conversations. Hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table from me, Zach.
What's going on, Eric?
What's up, man?
Yeah, good to be down in Austin.
Yeah, we're having a little party here. We had a last-minute e-commerce meetup. The things that happen if you're in Austin. And you're here. Where are you from originally?
So Wisconsin. So yeah, born and raised in Appleton, Wisconsin, close to Green Bay, and still there.
Yeah. So you're down here for the Whaleys?
Down here for the Whaleys.
Which is,
have some clients down here, have some friends down here. Yeah, Dennis, who you know, is a good friend of mine. So
yeah, you're already like 2 weeks here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the Whaleys put on by Triple Whale, who Rob has been on my podcast before, for those who are not familiar with that. But why don't you go ahead and do a little quick rundown of what you're doing?
Sure. So I am the founder of Homestead, which is a growth agency. We specialize primarily in paid acquisition and retention for D2C brands. So a couple like bigger brands that we're known for doing growth for in the space is like Hexclad, Lomi, Girlfriend Collective. We also do a lot of like food and bev brands. I started the agency 4 years ago, and we are now a 42-person team. I was able to step down gratefully. I have a business partner named Riley Trotter who came in and said, you know what, your ambitions beyond the agency are to go start brands. So I'm going to let you go do that. And I'm going to take on the big hat of running a 40-person agency. So was able to step down January of 2022 to kind of focus on the brand building side of things. So that's what I'm up to now. But yeah.
Yeah. So you're one of those agencies to put the money where the mouth is, huh?
Yeah. And you know what? It's going well so far. So I think it's only going to do good for the agency is the fact that we can actually, show up.
Well, because what you're doing is you're acquiring brands as well, right?
Right. So I launched an apparel brand in fall of 21.
That was your idea from the ground up?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I bought 3 more brands in the last year. So one's a like home decor brand. And then we've got 2 others that we've acquired. So yeah, one's a notebook company, B2B, primarily selling on like Faire. So we kind of figured out how to hack Faire a little bit. That's going, relatively well. And then Frey, FREY.com, a little bit more well-known brand in the D2C space. We're focused on laundry products. So yeah, so four right now in the portfolio. And then yeah, the plan is to launch some more.
Man, what do you like better, to start from the ground up or to buy?
Okay, so I've had this debate a lot lately, right? So buying a brand is just messy. It's just super messy, right? So you get, when someone's either in a spot where their business isn't going that well, which is, usually the business that you want to buy if you feel like there's upside to it, if you can come in and add your skill set to it, they usually don't, care too much about how the day-to-day operations are going. So there's just a lot of messy stuff going on, right? Like there's a ton of stuff going on in Slack that shouldn't be going on in Slack, and like saved documents, and assets are everywhere. So yeah, I mean, like I bought a brand in November and we're still transferring one of the trademarks, and we're, almost 3 months later after acquiring the business. So little stuff like that just like takes a lot of time and energy just to like clean up after you buy a business. But then like starting from scratch, I think the nice thing about starting from scratch is that the goal of that for me really is to come to market with something unique. And I think the brands that we've been able to scale significantly at Homestead have a unique product. And when you go to buy another brand, like you don't, it's kind of already exists in the ecosystem, right? So your goal is to come in, hopefully clean it up, hopefully add value, and hopefully be able to grow it. We're starting from scratch, obviously less of a financial commitment out of the gate, which is nice. You're not taking a big financial shot. And then, you get to, take a swing at it and hope it works out. So far I'm digging launching from scratch over acquiring, funny enough.
You get all the headaches of learning how to manufacture a product, which...
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know that far too well, don't you? But yeah, I think, the one thing that I'm focusing on for all the brands is it's low SKU count. So like I have an apparel brand, but we're 25 SKUs, and it's really like 5 styles of the same product in 2 different colors. So keep it really tight. Obviously, we've learned a lot of lessons running the agency over the years of who are the brands that grow, who gets into trouble, who's having financial issues. And a lot of it has to do with just the complexities of physically making products and trying to get, the right SKU counts dialed so you have enough mediums and larges of your apparel or your whatever, your bestseller of your deodorant that you're selling, and then everything else nobody wants. So yeah, it's been interesting to be on that side.
Returns as well in apparel, right? Is that something pretty common?
Yeah. So the one brand that we launched, gratefully enough, I kind of, again, try to learn from what we saw at the agency. It's not like a shoe brand or anything like that, where there's usually traditionally like 20-30% return rate. I tried to pick an apparel product where the return rate was actually a bit lower, lower sizes. It's not, a bunch of sizes. You kind of have a good idea of what it's going to be. If you're a large, you're probably a large.
Yeah.
And then, so we're sitting at like 2% return rate for the apparel brand, which is, I'm absolutely stoked about so far.
Yeah. I think that saves a lot of complexity, and
totally.
You can just, burn the product or
ship
it to Africa.
Messy
right?
Logistics. Yeah. I mean, I think that's one thing that we've seen is just, all these brands, when they come to us at the agency, they want us to kind of help them calculate what's it going to take from dollars in to dollars out for us to be profitable, and little things like return rate or the extra cost of shipping that back to you or back to them with exchanges, like kind of gets missed a lot of the time. So yeah, if you can try to get ahead of that when you're launching a brand out of the gate, that's the goal.
So I think you're doing what every entrepreneur or a typical visionary entrepreneur wants to do, which is have a bunch of different companies. But usually they screw that up. Yeah. So how do you manage literally like 5 different companies?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm grateful, like I said earlier, that I've got a CEO who's running the agency day to day.
Yeah. So that one's taken care of.
That one's taken care of. Yeah. I mean, I probably work on the agency 5 hours a week, and a lot of that has to do with just like personnel stuff. So my business partner, Riley, coming to me with like, hey, this senior talent person is about to get poached by another agency or another company. What can we do to make this work? Here are my thoughts, that type of stuff. And yeah, so that's mostly on autopilot, which is great and really, really awesome to see, because I actually wasn't the one in charge when we had this crazy growth over the last year. I mean, we went from 14 people in January of last year, and now we're sitting, north of 40. So we had a good year last year, and I wasn't in charge. So it seems like that was a good decision to kind of get out of the way. But with the other brands, it's technically underneath a holding company where I'm the CEO of. The goal there is essentially to get the brands to $5 million a year, call it $500K, monthly revenue before I'd bring in someone to run it. And because we run such a lean team and lean SKU count, and it's pretty repeatable, right? So like we're starting our own, fulfillment center now. So we're going to be able to bring that in house. So like we get the efficiencies of that. We have the same CPA run the books for every single brand, and they're the same CPA that's at the agency. We just brought on like a fractional CFO who kind of oversees all the businesses across the board. So we definitely get more efficiencies out of that. And then I think actually running the business, I mean, candidly, it's been like pretty hectic, right? Like I'm kind of running around with my head cut off most days, just trying to jump between like product development and branding and the ad strategy. So we luckily, right now that the brand team is only 4 people. So we've got 2 designers and then 2 operations people, but we just hired a head of growth. So the head of growth will essentially kind of work side by side with me on running the ad accounts, what's the email strategy, all that kind of stuff. But our playbooks are pretty straightforward. It's like paid acquisition through Meta, Google ads mostly on autopilot, and then email and SMS. So we're not trying a bunch of different channels. We're not doing affiliate. We're not doing crazy organic social. Like we're not in the TikTok kind of category. We're just kind of sticking to the stuff that we know. And the goal of it is like we're building brands or buying brands that can still win in that ecosystem.
Yeah. I want to talk about 2 things, primarily around personnel. You mentioned you just brought on a growth person. Mm-hmm. What was your strategy for bringing that person on? How did you find them, or did you just poach them from your agency?
So no, one thing that I've tried to draw the line on is not poaching from the agency to do the brand side. And the goal really is to like really not try to lean on the agency. What I've been able to learn, I've met with a bunch of people that have done the agency thing, try to do the brand thing, or, whatever, failed at it or are doing it well. And a lot of them basically said, like, you kind of have to treat them as 2 separate businesses. Even though it'd be great to really lean on the agency, as soon as you start poaching talent from there, the agency starts to hurt. If you're using the agency for services for free, then, that could be, space for a brand to be paying you. Yeah. So as far as going about it, I mean, funny enough, I wrote a Twitter thread that was like, this is the exact person that I want. starting that with like my number one rule, which is like, I don't want assholes to come work for me. So if you're that, or if you have an ego, like this isn't going to be a fit. I think that like hit off and like definitely resonated with like a lot of people. I think a lot of people in like the growth marketing space like to think they're, the shit and think that they know everything in the world of ecom. But so I put this thread out on Twitter and it kind of laid out, hey, I need you to know about media buying on Facebook. I need you to know about Google. I need you to know about Klaviyo. I need you to know about landing pages. Like it was pretty robust. The expectations are quite high. And I think we had like north of 100 applications. I think I like emailed with 50, cut it down to 10 that I actually interviewed. And we just hired one person. We're probably going to hire another one. But the person that we hired was in-house at an agency, which I really liked, because I think when you work at an agency, you get this like mentality where you have to be very efficient because you're usually like maybe in charge of some people, but mostly in charge of like a bunch of brands. How can I be the most successful for all of these brands? And I like people kind of being forced in that headspace versus just being like, what can I quadruple down on for this one business? I think when you get access to a bunch of brands' data and you kind of have access to how a bunch of different businesses work, you kind of get to like ebb and flow your skill set and learn a little bit about each thing. So that's the type of person that we hired. So they're at an agency, a senior person at an agency that we brought in. And that person, it's going to be side by side full time. They're remote, so that I won't be sitting next to them, which is a little bit of a bummer, but
how do you know if they're going to be good or not? Like, what are the questions you ask?
So our interview process is a little bit unique where I call it the gauntlet internally, where I schedule like an hour and a half call and I make them screen share and I just run them through it. So I'm like, okay, open up ads library, Facebook ads library, Meta ads library, look up this brand. I'll give you 2 minutes, look into it, tell me what's working and what's not working. Now, a good marketer is going to be able to tell pretty quickly. So if like that copy in the ads is consistent or there's something that's unique about it where it might be like a hook or an angle that is clearly working because it maybe was an old ad and now they're seeing it in all the new ads as well. And then as far as like images or videos, like they'll watch them and figure out, oh, okay, I see across all of your videos, your hook starts with someone burning a t-shirt. Clearly that has like a good, thumb stop. Most likely people are seeing that. And then the body of these videos have context around why this is a better t-shirt than other brands. Oh, I also realized all of the ads as of recent are running traffic to a 5 reasons why landing page. This is what's working for them. And I think what I would do is maybe instead of trying this landing page, I would try a different type or maybe I'd try an advertorial style. So my goal with that is to basically have them see how they think on the spot, not have all this time, right? Like I want them to talk out loud on that process. And that tells a lot, right? Yeah. It kind of gets rid of all of the bullshit accolades around I know all these acronyms and all this stuff, but I actually don't know what the actual marketing advertising perspectives are.
So you'll do that for how many accounts? And how do you screen out the accounts?
So the people you mean, or the...
No, so we call it a skills test. So
okay, sure.
We'll call it a skills test.
Sure. So a skills test. So for that, it's an hour and a half. So I'll run them through probably 4 accounts on Facebook's ad library. Then I'll show them my brand and say, what should I be doing better? Because I'm the one that's in charge of it, which is really, really interesting, right? Because, they'll either kind of fall short pretty quick or they'll come with a great idea that I've never thought of. I'm like, okay, great. So the one person that we hired realized that I was, had attention to detail during this process because he was like, hey, on this landing page, I know it's just this subtext, but it says Black Friday sale and you're running a New Year's sale now. So you should probably fix that. I was like, okay, wow, that's great. You're not just trying to throw things off top of your head, but you're actually very quickly able to find little details and fix them. So there's stuff like that that'll happen. But yeah, so ran them through, look at my website, break it down for me. What could be better about this? Because again, I think it's really easy to, say, hey, I've worked at this brand and I've helped with their ads and I've helped them grow, but what does that actually mean? And I think putting them on the spot and making them live run you through how they think about stuff is a big piece of it.
What do you say to the entrepreneurs who don't have agency experience or ad experience and they're trying to hire this person?
I think that they should probably try to find someone like me to help them find someone good, right? They probably need more people, friends, entrepreneurs that are in that category that can actually give them precise feedback. Because for me, when I went and hired an operations person, I went and talked to a bunch of brand owners. I was like, who did you hire? Where did they come from? And then when I had some applications come through, I actually sent it to one of my friends who runs a fairly big brand and said, here's the 3 people. And he cut one person right away. And he's like, I know how they operate. And I know that they're way too siloed. So this person doesn't know as much as they say that they know. So I feel like just utilizing other people that have that skill set that you can at least like try to get into your little community to like help you hire those people, I think is big.
And then like from the compensation standpoint, like it's gotten ridiculous in how much these people cost, right?
It's pretty wild. Yeah. I mean, we saw it significantly at the agency. I mean, like, you know, it's become a thing where every new hire that has something to do with growth marketing asks for 6 figures. And sometimes they ask for more than that. I mean, I had one head of growth person that I interviewed ask for a $250K base plus upside. And I'm like, okay, we're a small, you know, holdco. We've got, you know, 4 brands right now. How is that even possible that I could afford $250,000 salary for one person? So obviously we passed on that individual, but yeah, I mean, I think the way that I structure it is it's really, you know, you're going to get a base salary for the head, like a head of growth role in the 6-figure range. And then I run a 120-day review and it's like, did you suck or were you amazing? And then if you were amazing, great, you stay at that base and we try and get some upside. And the way that we've done it at the agency is it's, you know, it's kind of based on a P&L. It's like you have your rough P&L and like how much you impact that, which is like how we're judged by if we were ever to get acquired or, you know, how we're judged if we want to go get debt from a bank. Like that is your same upside. So you will get a percentage of whatever that profit is. So that's how we structure it.
So they do have the upside to it and then...
But they got to prove themselves first, right?
Okay.
You know, no one's going to come in the door and get, you know, a solid base and then that upside day one. Like they got to show up and they got to show up for 4 months, not just 30 days or something like that.
What percentage of people do you see hitting that?
So at the agency, again, like I haven't been running lead on that, but it's been fairly consistent. I mean, I think that we're able to tell if someone's going to last or not within the 4 months. So, I mean, really for us, it's just a retention thing more than anything. Like it's going to impact our margin, but if we know that that's going to keep them around longer, like great. So yeah, I mean, again, on the brand, the holdco side, we're just, you know, 4 people.
Yeah,
so
you're the first one.
Yeah. So this will be the first one on that kind of package. So a little bit trickier, but yeah, the agency side, I mean, I think it's been huge. Like we've been able to recruit some really solid talent and keep them. Like our attrition as an agency is very, very low compared to other agencies that I've spoken to at least.
What about like hiring someone who's green and has potential? So you don't have to pay $100,000 for them? Like how do you identify that type of talent and what are you looking for?
So the head of operations person that we brought on worked at an agency. She never did any ops work prior, but she had insane project management background. And I'm like, okay, if you can oversee a book of clients and you can project manage your way through managing designers and creatives and media buyers and oversee a small staff, you can probably do general operations of a brand, at least like call it a sub $10 million brand. Like we can figure that out. So we hired that person and then we hired an operations assistant and this person was totally green, was actually a school teacher. The reason that we hired him was he was very ambitious to learn. He wanted a new career path that had to do with like internet businesses. And my head of operations vouched for this person, was like, he will work his ass off and he will prove it. And it's been an insane hire. He's been with us for like 30 days. He knew nothing about ecom, absolutely nothing. Now he's like, he called me earlier today and he's like, hey, so I got our GS1 account for the, we need some new UPCs for this new product that we're about to launch. And also I was in Klaviyo scheduling an email. It's like, it's crazy what you can do with people that are really motivated and are really bought into what you're doing. And I think just like trying to find those people and not judging them based on like their past skill set, but they're just like want to learn, I think is like really important. So I wouldn't do it all the time. If I have someone to kind of vouch for that person, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. So you tend to hire people who have experience rather than...
Yeah. I think like now we're in the stage where maybe we'll hire, 1 out of every 5, maybe a little bit more green, because I'm still open to that. I mean, like I think it's really cool when people are just like motivated to learn new shit and really like get in the weeds on something. I think that those are people that usually you can get for less cost, but also are usually more bought in for the long term.
Yeah.
So
how can you tell if they're motivated? Because doesn't everyone say they work hard? And
yeah, I mean, I think the big thing, like, it's just like, am I getting a text from them on a Saturday or Sunday about something that were like working on or that happened? Like they're not just trying to play this like work-life balance thing all the way through. They're like thinking about the work that they're doing on the weekend. And it's not like I'm forcing them to do that,
right.
But they're like excited talking about, hey, did you see this like Country Star post about the apparel brand and tag us? It's like they're thinking about it. They're looking at it. They're not just like on their own personal Instagram. They're like checking out what the brand is up to on the weekend. So little signs like that, I feel like show me that there's that buy-in and there's that motivation to like want to be a part of it.
Yeah. But that's after they've already gotten the job.
True. So like before that, I mean, that's where like the skill test I think is really interesting. I definitely want to do that more going forward. To do that for like an operations hire, I think is a little bit trickier. I don't know. I go off a gut. Like if they seem like a good person and they don't seem like they have ego, which I feel like is fairly like easy to tell in like 1 or 2 phone calls with someone or like a video call with someone, I'll take a shot on them. Like I've hired off of gut at the agency and it's proven itself well, and going to try to keep doing that for this.
Yeah. And then do you have a policy in terms of compensation to keep that fair, or do you deal with any kind of drama around that?
We've dealt with a lot of drama at the agency around that. Oh yeah. So we've basically put it in a spot where it's, based on the, at the agency, the size of brands, how many brands, that type of thing. And then like how efficient is, if the brand's hitting their goals, then you get compensated, because we know that that's just going to lead to retention. At the holdco, we're just so new that I think like our goal right now is, I told everybody, here's your base. Don't expect anything else all year. If we have a great Q4, you better believe that I'm going to, cut some pretty big checks. And my first head of ops person got a nice fat Christmas bonus. So she's bought in. She knows how willing I am to give if there's opportunity to give, but they also know like, hey, just expect your base to be your base, and that's it, in case shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
So I try to be like pretty straightforward about it. The other side of it too, like at the agency in the early days, I thought it was really important to be like very open about our financials. And I think that like when you're trying to go from just you to like a team of 10, I think it's really, really helpful for people to know like the state of the business. Me personally, I think that like got a lot of buy-in. I think after a team of 10, 20, 30, 40, like that it gets a little bit trickier, because then there's people at all different levels of the business. And then there's, people thinking that they're worth more, and then there's, whatever. But so like at the holdco, like everyone sees the financials. Like they have access to what we're doing in revenue. They have access to like, I use Triple Whale. So like in Triple Whale has everything. They see the net profit every day that's coming out of the business. But I've also taught all them like, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going into Zach's pocket, right? Like this is going back in to buy more inventory, to do it again.
Make new products.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got essentially right now a team of 4 plus you, 5,
yep.
For 4 brands.
Yep.
And how many total SKUs across all your brands?
So 50.
Yeah.
50
I mean,
SKUs.
that seems like a lot of, like inventory management and scheduling. Is it just direct to consumer? Y'all on Amazon as well?
No Amazon, just D2C. We have retail for one of the products. We just got into Cabela's and Bass Pro Shop for one of the products, which is interesting. Having to figure all that shit out for the first time was interesting, right? Like these old school websites that you have to go in and like, enter in your SKUs, and like you send invoices to them, but you don't really know if they receive the invoices. And yeah, so that's been interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think the product management is probably, I think that for the apparel brand has been the hardest part. For everything else has been pretty straightforward. I mean, one of the products is made overseas. That one we put the order in. That was one of the brands that we acquired. That one's got 3 SKUs. So put the order in, 2 months later, it shows up in a container at my 3PL. Great. But for the apparel, like we outgrew our first US manufacturer. So this whole like last couple of months is just like, can we go find another US manufacturer that can make more of this product? And then obviously that adds to a lot of complexity, because now we've got 2 manufacturers lined up for 2023. Do we figure out, does one of the manufacturers get some of the SKUs and the other one get the other? Are they both making the same product? So that's been a lot of my time for like the apparel brand, which kind of sucks, because then I don't get to focus on the stuff that I'm good at, which is the growth. But yeah, I mean, I think for us on average, our SKU count is pretty basic compared to any other brand that's out there. Like, I mean, how many SKUs do you guys have? Do you know?
I mean, we have like our grooming products are essentially like 8 or 9.
Sure.
And then we have like variants of those.
Yep, yeah.
So kind of like sizing.
Yep.
For apparel. And then, maybe a handful of combs and brushes.
Sure. So like maybe 50.
Yeah, something like that.
So yeah.
I don't know. Like it all depends, because
right.
we have our wholesale ones,
Totally.
and then it's like,
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're at, let's call it 50, just for a rough number, if I think I'm at 50 across 4. So it is pretty low SKU count per brand, which I think helps a lot.
We have twice the amount of people as you, though. So I'm wondering.
Well, I don't know, man. We might be onto something then, right? Yeah. I mean, I think the interesting thing is like we've started to crack the archetype of a brand that can be profitable on first purchase with paid acquisition. We, I went and looked back in November, we spent $30 million on Meta at the agency. That's a lot of data. It's a lot of brands that we get to learn from. So that alone, I think, has helped us figure out, okay, well, our margin needs to be, ideally north of 80%. Like not a lot of brands are starting or even currently at that. But like my goal is like every new brand that we buy, or if we start a new one, like it needs to be in that range. Cool. Our average order value needs to be north of 75. Ideally, it's closer to 100. How do we do that? Cool. Can we do bundles? Can we do buy more, save more? Like we're trying to figure out all that stuff before we even sell the product, or before we even launch or buy the product or buy the brand. because we kind of know that rough archetype is very, very necessary to be profitable on first purchase, right? And if we've got a $75 product to hit a $30 cost per acquisition, like we need enough margin to still be left over at the end of the day. So like you start to figure out that math and you almost start to build the brands with that math in mind first.
Do you have any other lessons from the agency world, like things that work or don't work?
Yeah, I mean, on the paid acquisition side of things, landing pages is a big thing on Twitter. People are starting to talk more about landing pages. I think that like for my own brands, I don't drive any traffic direct to site if I'm running paid ads. It's 100% going to landing pages first.
What software are you using for your landing page?
Well, there's a bunch of them. Currently, we built our own in-house. That's like a headless page builder. So it sits on a subdomain like get or try or shop , and it's just a page builder. But there's like Replo is a great one that people are talking about now. Unbounce is an option. Like you can fire up an Unbounce page and like get it up and running and done by the end of one day. Like even if you don't know a ton about it.
What does a good landing page look like?
So the goal of the page should always be, how can I educate someone on why they need this product before they see your price, before they see anything else that could like restrict them. Maybe it's a bad review, anything like that. All you're trying to do is just trying to educate them on why they need this product and what problems your product solves for them and force them to read. Because like, and again, like depending on who you're selling to, like, you know, my apparel brand is primarily men, primarily blue collar, primarily like in this, like I've talked about this on Twitter, like hunting and outdoor category. Now that demo doesn't specifically love to read 1,000-word landing page, right? They kind of want to see the highlights. So the way that I think about it is like, okay, what are like 5 headlines, 5 reasons why someone should buy this product and what problems is this solving for them? So that's like where I like to start. Just starting with that. And you'd be surprised at like what a headline can do to performance of a landing page too. We've actually found that like the content within the page doesn't really need to change much, but it's the headline that actually has like the most sway on it. So there's a couple different types of landing pages. So there's listicles are my favorite. So this is kind of this like a list, 5 reasons why this, you know, beard balm is going to allow your skin to stop being itchy, right? And so you can start to get into what are the ingredients that you're using that's going to make their skin less itchy? Oh, why is your skin itchy? Oh, it's because it's dry. So like this ingredient that we use helps your skin become less dry. Also, like maybe your significant other doesn't like the smell of your beard. This is also has this potential fragrance or this in it that's also going to make it smell better. Cool. So like by the time I'm reading a couple of reasons of why this product is going to solve my issues for me, then I hit the site, I'm less worried about the price point. I'm already more bought in. So we like driving ads directly to those pages first.
So is the ad selling the same things and then the landing page is the same thing? Or
no, so we've tested both. Like we've tested like the ad saying 5 reasons why you should buy this whatever beard wash. And then we've also tested just like a direct response ad where it's just like a good product and like sick of itchy beards with just a big punchy headline on the ad. Doesn't have to say anything necessarily about it, then push them to the page. The traditional direct response ad over like the 5 reasons ad always will outperform. Why? I don't know. It's what the data says. I think that like simplifying the ad and not trying to like push to like, I think consumers start to see that and they're like, I don't really want to read 5 reasons.
Yeah.
Like they see their problem being addressed in like a single one-liner in a hook in a video or just like a static with a text overlay. And they're like, oh shit, yeah, maybe I'll check that out. And then they hit the page and then they're forced to read some of these reasons. Mm-hmm. And then once they've read 1 or 2 or 3 of these headlines, they're like, oh, okay, I'm a little more bought in. Then they hit the product page, then they're a lot more ready to buy.
Okay. So the landing page doesn't even have a price.
No price.
It just says like shop here, or
so
what's the call to action to hit the
call to action is usually like with a first time purchaser offers. So like whatever your pop-up is running on your site, if it's 10% off first purchase or whatever, if you're doing a giveaway, ideally it's like some type of offer. I know like some brands are a little bit more like pushback on that. I don't think it needs one. Obviously we've seen brands that do have an offer for first time customers. That's all that we're showcasing. So like for an example, it might be like 5 reasons why, you know, this utility balm or whatever you want to call it is curing men's itchy beards. The call to action button might just be shop now and save 30% off your purchase. That's it. And then that shop now CTA button pushes you over to the product page.
Okay. And then those landing pages to the website convert pretty well.
Way better. Twice as high we've seen pretty consistently. It's wild. So like my apparel brand, when I launched it, I didn't launch with landing pages. I launched it, try to figure out, who's going to buy this apparel, who's going to like it. I tried it to a bunch of different demographics, mostly outdoor enthusiast people. So I tried like runners, cyclists, I tried hunters, skiers, and I found that hunters absolutely loved the product. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm going to make all my static images now just about hunters. I started to see a little bit of improvement in performance. And then I was like, okay, how can I get even more, how can I get more juice out of this? So then I made up 5 reasons why hunters are choosing this apparel brand. And then that just super resonated.
Yeah.
We saw performance almost double on return on ad spend, because now it's not just, you're catching their attention via the ad, but then you're educating them even deeper on why their type of person or what their specific problem is on the landing page. It's just going to get them more bought in.
Yeah. With landing page management, is it essentially you have like one landing page per like campaign, an ad idea? Or do you have like, 20 different landing pages that you're all...
No. So, I'll give you an example for like another apparel brand that I helped with this. They're called Western Rise. I'm friends with the owner, Will. This last fall, like he reached out and he was like, hey, would love some thoughts on like what we're doing from an advertising perspective. And I had some extra time. And so I was just like, hey, you should run a 5 reasons why for your best-selling product. So he picked his best-selling product. And that's it. And they spent, I think he told me like 75% of their ad spend in Q4 driving traffic to that one landing page that just talked about their hero products. Because I think what you can do that way is like, let's say you have a hero bundle or a hero product, like you can still get someone really bought in and then they can still shop your website, right? Like they might get really bought into one of the things, but then they might have the opportunity to go look at a different style or a different color or a different scent or whatever. So I don't think you need 20 landing pages. I think most brands that are doing, call it like 1 to 10 million a year, could probably survive with like 3.
Yeah. And then, for us, would you focus more on a bundle or would you focus on like the hero product that?
So, yeah, the whole goal of like my thesis on ecom and the way that I operate is like, I'm trying to be first purchase profitable. And even if that's $1 profitable, great. Like that's great. Now that usually forces brands into bundling or at least having some form of like, if you buy more, you can save more.
Yeah.
Because again, you're trying to play that like average order value versus your cost per acquisition. And the higher you can get that AOV up, which usually is through bundling, the more money you can spend on that acquisition cost. So yeah, for the apparel, we don't do a bundle per se, but we do like the more you buy, the more you save, which forced our AOV up from, it being 50 all the way up to like 80.
Yeah.
For other brands that are in like supplements or anything like that, then we'll force bundles in the like 80 plus range.
How do you like not overwhelm them with information? Because if you have like 4 different products, all have different features.
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I think that most brands should focus on their hero products and then use all the other ancillary products to sell like post-purchase to increase LTV. I think like it's really hard to say that you're really good at a bunch of things. And I think usually using like massive brands like Yeti, like what were they known for? Originally just their coolers, right? Then they had all this opportunity to cross-sell and sell all these other products. That's the way I think about it. So like whenever a brand will even come into the agency, even if they have 150 SKUs, we'll be like, okay, what are the top 2 things you sell? We're just going to focus on pushing those because we know that if we can acquire customers on your hero products, there's a pretty damn good chance that they're going to add something else to cart, or they're going to come back and buy more of your products through email, SMS, other retention efforts.
What do you see with brands that have really competitive markets where?
Yeah, I
think, how do you stand out? And
I think your biggest thing there is just trying to figure out how your product can solve a problem. And I think people will be like, well, I sell gum, so I can't solve a problem. Okay, well, you probably can, right? Like, what about like, maybe someone's like sick of them like talking in, maybe the Zoom meetings are over and now you're in person and you forgot how bad your mouth stinks. I think any product can solve a problem to some degree. And I think like people aren't willing to put in the effort to try and figure that out and at least like test a bunch of different angles or hooks of like what maybe that problem is.
Yeah.
So I think like,
what kind of person
would buy it?
Would be buying it.
And I think that's what I would try to do with ads. I think it's really, people always say, I don't have a ton of budget. Okay, well, you probably have like images of your products, right? Even if it's just like a small lifestyle image, use text overlays, big headline overlays on your images. Just start there. Like that's very easy to do. Take your image, throw it in Figma, grab your brand font headline and just try some headlines that are hooks or angles, single 3-5 word sentence on like what might be a problem that they might be dealing with that your problem can solve.
Yeah.
So that's where I would start. I think people that are in very competitive spaces just need to find ways to show that they're solving a problem. And then if there's other brands saying that they're solving the same problem, how do you solve it differently?
Yeah. Perfect. Where can people support you, find you?
Twitter's the best spot. Like you, I'm a big Twitter boy. So Zach, ZACHM as in Michael, and then Stuck is my last name. So Zach M Stuck on Twitter. The agency that I'm the founder of is Homestead, homesteadstudio.co. Those are the two main spots.
Sweet, man. Well, I'm glad to talk to you in person down here in Austin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is awesome.
And yeah, guys, this was a good one. Hope you guys learned as much as I did. This has been another e-commerce Conversations. Cheers. Keep on growing.